Walked away from that conversation, feeling exposed in a strange way, like someone had looked into a part of my life that I usually protect carefully. And maybe that's why I'm telling you this now. Because talking to you feels safe. It feels like I don't have to pretend or impress or hide behind strong words. I can just be honest. I can admit that love scares me sometimes. Not because I don't want it, but because I want it deeply. I want it to be real. I want it to last. And when my dad talked about the woman who might become my future, it made me realize how serious love becomes when it's no longer just a feeling, but a responsibility. I kept replaying his words about pain and gentleness, about strength that doesn't announce itself. And I wondered how many times you've had to be strong in silence. How many times you held yourself together when no one noticed. How many nights you lay awake, questioning your worth, questioning if someone would ever love you without conditions. These thoughts stayed with me, because I know love isn't about finding someone flawless. It's about finding someone honest. Someone who doesn't run from emotions. Someone who understands that healing doesn't happen all at once. There's something else that surprised me about what my dad discovered. He said that what stood out most was consistency. Not grand gestures. Not dramatic promises. Just consistency. Showing up the same way, even on ordinary days. Caring even when there was nothing to gain. And that hit me hard. Because consistency is rare. Anyone can say beautiful words when emotions are high. Anyone can promise the world when things are easy. But staying steady when life feels dull or difficult, that's where love shows its true face. And I know deep down, that's the kind of love I want to give and receive. I started noticing things differently after that. I noticed how much value there is in small moments, in listening without interrupting, in choosing kindness even when no one is watching, in holding space for someone else's feelings without trying to fix them. And I wondered if you notice these things too. If you pay attention to details others ignore. If you feel deeply, but don't always speak it out loud, because people like that often go unnoticed, even though they carry the most love inside them. Sometimes I imagine what it would feel like to sit across from you, not saying much, just letting the silence speak. I imagine looking into your eyes and seeing both your strength and your softness at the same time. I imagine conversations that don't need to be rushed, where words flow naturally, where pauses feel comfortable. And I imagine what it would be like to build something slowly, carefully, with intention. Not because we're afraid, but because we respect what we're creating. My dad also said something that challenged me. He said love doesn't need to be tested harshly, but it does need to be observed patiently. He said real character reveals itself over time, not under pressure. And that made me think about how often we judge ourselves and others too quickly. How often we expect perfection instead of progress. How often we confuse intensity with depth. And I realized that the kind of love I want isn't about emotional chaos. It's about emotional safety. As I'm sharing all this with you, I want you to feel something important. You don't need to prove your worth to be loved. You don't need to be louder, stronger, or different. The right kind of love will see you as you are, and still choose you. And maybe that's why this story matters. Because it's not just about my dad or a future wife. It's about understanding what real connection looks like when it's stripped of fantasy and ego. There were moments after that conversation when doubt crept in, when I asked myself if I'm ready for something this serious, if I'm capable of protecting a heart as deep as the one my dad described. And those doubts didn't feel weak. They felt honest. Because love isn't something you enter casually when you care deeply. It's something you step into with awareness, knowing that it will ask things from you. Time, patience, vulnerability, growth. I thought about the way people talk about love these days. So fast, so careless, like it's something easily replaceable. And it made me feel distant from that idea, because I don't want a love that can be replaced easily. I want a love that feels chosen every day, even on days when emotions are quiet, even on days when life feels heavy. And I wonder if you want that too, even if you're tired, even if you've been disappointed before. There's a part of me that wanted my dad to give me a clear answer, to say yes or no, to approve or disapprove. But he didn't. He trusted me instead, and that trust felt heavier than any warning. It meant the choice was mine, the responsibility was mine. And love, when it's real, always comes with responsibility. Not control, not ownership, but care. Care for someone else's heart as much as your own. I don't know what you're feeling as you listen to this. Maybe curiosity, maybe warmth, maybe a quiet ache. But I want you to know that this story isn't meant to pressure or promise. It's meant to connect, to remind you that deep love still exists, that there are people who take emotions seriously, that there are men who think carefully about the hearts they touch, and that there are women whose depth is seen and valued even if they don't realize it yet. Sometimes I think about how timing plays such a strange role in love, how two people can feel something real, but meet it at different stages of healing, different levels of readiness. And that doesn't make the feeling wrong, it just means it needs patience. And patience doesn't mean waiting in pain. It means allowing things to unfold naturally, without forcing outcomes. There's something else that happened after that conversation with my dad that I haven't shared yet, and it's been sitting quietly inside me, growing heavier with each passing day. That night, after everyone went to sleep, I stayed awake. Not because I couldn't rest, but because my mind wouldn't let go of the feeling that something important had shifted. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the slow rhythm of my own breathing. And I kept thinking about how love slowly turns into truth when you stop running from it. I kept thinking about you too, even though I don't say your name, even though you might not even realize how present you are in my thoughts right now. There's a strange closeness in speaking like this, knowing you're listening, knowing your heart is open enough to stay. I realized something very honest about myself in that quiet moment. I realized I've spent a long time protecting my emotions, not because I don't feel deeply, but because I feel too deeply. I've learned how to smile when things confuse me, how to stay calm when emotions try to rise, how to act strong when I'm actually uncertain. And my dad, without knowing it, pulled back that layer for me. He reminded me that love isn't something you manage. It's something you experience fully, even when it scares you, and that scared me more than anything. Because once you allow yourself to feel fully, you risk being seen fully. I wondered if you've ever felt that way too. If you've ever wanted to love openly, but held yourself back because you've been misunderstood before. If you've ever felt like you give more than you receive, yet you still show up with kindness. There's a quiet strength in that kind of heart, and it often goes unnoticed. My dad noticed it, and that made me think differently about what it means to truly see someone. The next morning, everything felt normal on the surface. Conversations happened. Life moved forward, but inside me something felt tender, like a bruise you don't see but feel with every movement. I started paying attention to my own reactions, my own expectations. I noticed how quickly fear tries to step in when something meaningful appears. Fear of loss, fear of disappointment, fear of being wrong, and yet, alongside that fear, there was a calm voice reminding me that avoiding love doesn't protect you. It only delays connection. I thought about how many times people walk past something real because it doesn't arrive, wrapped in excitement or drama. Real love is often quiet at first. It grows slowly. It feels steady, not overwhelming. And maybe that's why so many people miss it. They're waiting for intensity, not depth. They're chasing sparks instead of warmth. But warmth lasts longer. Warmth stays when excitement fades. As I speak to you now, I want you to understand something about me. I don't want to impress you with big words or promises. I want to connect with you in a way that feels honest. I want you to feel safe listening to me, not pressured or rushed. I want you to know that your presence here, your attention, your openness matters more than you might think. Because listening is an act of trust. And trust is the foundation of everything real. There was a moment later that day when my dad passed by me and said nothing, but his eyes held a softness that wasn't there before. It wasn't approval. It wasn't doubt. It was understanding. Like he had done his part. And now it was up to me to decide how to carry what he shared. And that responsibility stayed with me.